Greetings and welcome. My name is Steve Muhammad and this is Knowledge for Life. And today we have a very special brother that we're going to be interviewing today. He's an author, he's a lecturer, and he's part of the NOI research department. And we're very honored to have with us Brother Demetric Muhammad. And greetings, brother.
Greetings to you, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
You do such a wonderful job putting out a lot of facts. And there's one thing you said in the lecture. You said that it was documentation over conversation.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain a little bit about what you meant by documentation over conversation?
Sure. Well, we all believe what we believe, and oftentimes within the black community, different ideologies and different philosophies and different faith traditions, instead of being the subject and the opportunity for unity, they often are opportunities for discord and argumentation. And just as a principle of argumentation and research, it's always better to be able to stand on a firm foundation of actual facts. In the Nation of Islam, upon entry into the Nation of Islam, we are provided with the actual facts of our home, the planet Earth, the universe, that Allah has created and made subservient to man. And so that is, in my humble view, an introduction to how we should proceed forth in life, making decisions, presenting ourselves and that which we believe on the basis of facts, that which we can document empirical data. And as a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we believe in the revealed word of Allah, and we bear witness that whenever Allah gives to a prophet or messenger revelation, he always follows that revelation with that which bears witness to the revelation that Allah reveals. And so that's where research and documentation enters into the picture. In the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Quran came first. And in the aftermath of the revelation of the Quran, you have this wonderful season of Muslims and an Islamic golden age where Muslims became pioneers in all of the various sciences and disciplines that are required to have a thriving and robust civilization: medicine and astronomy, jurisprudence, architecture, engineering, all on the basis and the foundation of a revealed truth that came through Prophet Muhammad. So I think that little phrase helps us as spiritual people harmonize faith and belief with empirical data and what some might term as secular knowledge. In Islam, we don't see the two as mutually exclusive. Islam historically has never had a problem with scientific inquiry or critical thinking. Historically, that was an issue for Christendom, as the Pope and the Church of Rome fought against thinkers and fought and condemned inventors and those whose scientific research conflicted with established church doctrines. That has not been the history of Islam, but unfortunately, in the modern context, we do find that most of the Islamic world, as it has deviated from the path of the example of Prophet Muhammad, we now find a dearth of scientific development and inquiry and even inventions coming out of Muslim lands. So we thank Allah for the great Mahdi, Master Fard Muhammad, for coming among us and informing us that God is a scientist.
Right.
And so we love science, and we bear witness that our faith and our belief can be supported, buttressed, and defended by science and documented empirical knowledge.
And I asked that question, and I began that question because when we look at the scriptures and we look at Moses and we look at Aaron, they had a staff.
Yes.
And that staff, many believe, is just a rod.
Right.
But can you break down for us the staff or the research department? Because he threw down his staff as the enchanters threw down their staff, and his staff swallowed their. So can you give us a good?
Sure. I think it may be in Surah 21, there is a footnote that goes into the Arabic word asa, which is used to translate into English as staff, and it was that which Moses or Musa used to beat back the leaves and whatnot out in the wilderness. And so we like to see the work that we do as a support and help for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam and black people in mass to beat back lies and falsehood and propaganda that, as we were discussing this weekend, is intended to corrupt black people so that we will not arrive at our righteous destiny. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad for many years taught that the black man and woman of America is to be the new ruler, the righteous ruler on the planet Earth. You read in the Bible, I believe in Romans 8, where it talked about the entire earth groaned and was in travail, waiting on the expected sons of God to come and bring a new season of peace and justice in the earth. But we are taught and we believe that that is our destiny. And so, but there's much that has been put in the way of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to freely access and teach our people. The enemy is always erecting obstacles and hurdles in the form of lies and falsehood and propaganda and misdirection, and using everything in his toolbox of technology to put out the light of Almighty God Allah, which is his wisdom and truth and supreme wisdom, from the minds of our people. And he works hard to make it unattractive. He works hard to keep our people dumbed down, because he knows in order for us to arrive at our destination, we have to learn a new knowledge.
Yes.
We have to internalize new ideas, and we have to adopt new practices and give up his old practices and his old mind.
I think one of the things you had in your slide was a new culture.
Yes.
A new way of solving problems, and a new way of a code of conduct
Yes.
and actions and behaviors.
Yes.
Yes, sir. When we look at the Million Man March, we see that before the Million Man March, we saw a New Jack City, boys in the hood, and all these images that were painting the black man as a criminal, as a natural-born killer. And we have the Million Man March with the media going after the minister, trying to make the Million Man March unsuccessful, which, of course, because of Allah backing the minister, made it overwhelmingly successful. But now we see, after the Million Man March, a whiteout. And we see that same thing happening with the scribes, with Jesus. And can you tell us a little bit about this whiteout? Because I don't think a lot of people really actually noticed it, because it was done so subtle.
Sure.
But he has been totally removed, even negative.
Sure. You can read some of the writings of Sylvester Monroe, who wrote in a book about black journalism, and he talks about the frustration that he went through. He's a journalist for Time magazine, and he originally had the idea to do the cover story for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that Time did. They ultimately did it, but it was captioned Ministry of Rage.
Right.
And Sylvester Monroe writes about his frustration with his editors because he wanted to investigate the magnetism of the minister, and the reason that everywhere this man went, in spite of condemnation from the Jewish community, in spite being censured by the U.S. Senate, in spite being railed against by even many in the Christian community, black people were coming to hear him by the thousands all over the country. And so in the early years of the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan was always used by the media to get ratings, to have a sensational story. Let's cover Farrakhan, the bigot, the anti-Semite. Well, we are taught as a principle of life that struggle is ordained and that every knock is a boost. So despite what the media did to hurt the minister continued to be popular among the people. And that reached an apex with the Million Man March, because here is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan himself acknowledging that when Allah caused him to say, I want to bring 1 million men to Washington, D.C. The minister's on a mission. He said, I saw the words going out and I wish that I could call them back.
Right.
He said, but I realize now I have to go and work and to catch up with the word to make it a reality. And as the history records, Allah blessed him with nearly 2 million. Some say more than 2 million. And so this infuriated all who wanted to destroy the minister's magnetic attraction among the masses of black people. And so in that aftermath, you can hardly find any honorable mention or even any negative mention of the minister in the major media outlets. He's just simply not covered. And it is and this strategy, as you call it, a whiteout or a blackout or just him being ignored, it has been effective to the degree that there are those who used to casually keep up with the minister's movements. Many of them, as the old saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. They now, when they meet many of us in the Nation of Islam, they inquire about the minister as though the minister has somehow receded into the background. And I believe in 2007, when the minister went through a 14-hour operation called a pelvic exoneration, and the many news outlets were covering it, saying that Farrakhan is stepping down and he's going to give day-to-day operations of the nation over to the Executive Council. And so it was as though the media was singing the swan song for Minister Farrakhan. And so that was selectively covering him because they felt that they could communicate to the masses of black people that you don't have to worry about hearing from Farrakhan anymore. But truth be told, as you and I both know, the minister just completed one of his most prolific years. Yes. He crisscrossed America speaking at his own expense to audiences of college students. He carried on something that he hadn't really done in many years, which is a weekly broadcast that was broadcast over the internet on NOI.org, where he gave one of his most profound expositions of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching, bringing all of those witness bearers that I mentioned earlier to bear and shine light on the reality that what God gave to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is in fact the truth.
Yes, and that's the time and
the time and what must be done. So, you know, our enemies plan and Allah plans, and we know that the righteous will always win. And I believe the minister is the foremost among the righteous. And so even though they're doing what they're doing, it means that you and I have to increase our work to keep the minister visible among our people.
Now, going back to the Million Man March and the black men coming out on a Monday on their own ticket or at their own expense, this is, as you were putting in your lecture, synonymous to Jesus raising Lazarus.
Yes.
And then we see, after Jesus raises Lazarus, this death plot against the minister, and then we link that with this silence in the media. Can you talk about this synagogue of Satan, their control over the media, and their seeing now with Ferguson, with Eric Garner, this rise of young people, not just here but across the world? Can you
Sure, I think it was, the author was Adam Silverstein, who wrote a book called The Jewish Phenomenon, where he actually put metrics. He actually attached and quantified the great influence of the Jewish community, who, although they may be a numerical minority, because of their understanding, of wisdom that has come down through the prophets. They are situated in positions of power within America, and the black man is situated on the bottom rung of America. And so to the degree that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is labeled by them as an anti-Semite, our minds certainly go to the scriptures, where the Sanhedrin, who were the Jewish leaders who presided over the temple, they opposed the work of Jesus. And what you reference is a narrative that comes out of the book of John. After Jesus did many miracles, but it appears as though in the minds of the Sanhedrin, one of the major accomplishments that he pulled off was the resurrection of Lazarus, raising a man from the dead. And as he raised Lazarus, his popularity grew. And so the Bible writers put it in the mouth of the Jewish Sanhedrin leadership that they had plotted to kill Jesus, and not only had they plotted to kill Jesus, but they also plotted to kill Lazarus, because in their mind it was because of Lazarus that many Jews began to believe in Jesus. And so now that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has had such a terrific work in rebuilding the nation, now with the internet, he can go and broadcast before the world, and millions of people get a chance to hear him. Not the sound bite, you know, not the manipulated caption, but literally sit within the quiet of their own home, undisturbed, and hear this man out. And you're finding many people coming to believe in him. Some of them are white, some of them are Hispanic, some of them live in other parts of the world. And so that has intensified, I believe, the desire in those Jews who want to exterminate Minister Farrakhan. They have, that desire has not abated, you know, even though the minister is 81.
Right.
Abraham Foxman, as you saw what we put in our presentation, he said last year that when he surveyed the black community, he only sees one man standing, and that is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He didn't say that in a congratulatory way. He says that, in my humble view, as someone who is an exasperated adversary. We've been trying to destroy this man for a long time, and we have failed. And in fact, all of the other black leadership is really not even a concern of ours. We only see Farrakhan as a concern.
And to say something a little bit about Abraham Foxman of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, is that we see the history being brought out by the minister that the ADL, the FBI, and I believe the Federal Reserve all came out at the same time in the 1913, I believe. And so we see this link with these organizations, because the Anti-Defamation League, I would say they have just as a more tighter research department as far as looking out for those who are on the rise, who would expose the difference between Judaism and Zionism. And of course we know that the minister, he has a good relationship with those Jews, and we see the Jews with the locks and the black suits on, and they hold signs that say
there have been Jews, those Jews, I believe, from some of the Orthodox Jewish communities, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes about, and how they eat to live, about their food being permissible for his followers to eat. And these are people who try as best they can to keep to the law of Moses, and they have protested, and they have come to events where Minister Farrakhan has spoken as honored guest. They have met with him to say that, Farrakhan, we know you're not anti-Semitic. As a matter of fact, former Israeli education minister Shulamit Alani, she was interviewed on the program Democracy Now!, and she said, well, you know, the labeling of critics of Israel as anti-Semites is a tactic, it's a strategy that we use. If it's someone in the West, we call them an anti-Semite. You know, if it's someone in the East, then, you know, we brand them as a Nazi, what have you. And so these are just labels. It's propaganda in the conflict between the rising power of Islam and the old world that is dominated by members of the Jewish community, members of the Gentile white community, and those who promoted colonialism, the transatlantic slave trade, imperialism around the world to subjugate black nations, brown nations, yellow nations, and even red races of people. So we are thankful to Allah that the minister is modeling the way for us in terms of being resilient. Even though he's 81 and even though he's withstood a blistering attack over the years, he is by no ways tired.
Right.
He is not withered. He is not going into the twilight years as a doddering old man, if you will, for lack of a better expression. The minister is robustly ratcheting up his strong stance against the forces of evil in this world.
Yes.
And as my old football coach used to say, don't run to the tape, run through the tape. And I see Minister Farrakhan running through a finish line of opposition toward liberation for our people.
Just two more questions. And when we look at the charge of anti-Semite, we can barely name an entertainer or a civil rights leader that hasn't been named that. Even Michael Jackson has been labeled anti-Semite. One of the beautiful things that you brought out in the lecture yesterday is that you gave such a vivid picture of how this synagogue of Satan have worked to shut down or stifle the growth of not only the Nation of Islam, but black people in general. When you pointed out, well, I'll let you point out some of the things that you talked about, the NOI security, when you talked about the clean and fresh power, the power products, if you can point that out, because not a lot, because I asked this question because people are always saying, you know, the nation has been around this long, why haven't you developed this or that? And you really made that clear.
Yes, you know, that's a section of our presentation where we describe the Nation of Islam essentially having to operate under economic sanction. We have noticed that over the years, whenever the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has made moves in the area of economics, or even when he's made moves in the area of gaining a wider audience among young people and college students, we have noticed that the Jewish assault is most pernicious and nefarious in these cases. In other words, they come out of hiding to assassinate the minister's character in seeking to destroy his magnetism among the people. In other words, the ideas that Minister Farrakhan expresses, they don't want black people to hear, understand, and believe. And so over the years we documented that the Nation of Islam, the men of the Nation of Islam, were inspired and guided by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to go into public housing, projects, and to begin to be a moral force. We didn't go with arms, carnal weaponry. We went with the armor of God, if you will, which is really our righteous character, a love for our people, and a respect for our people. And we had tremendous results. Our work in NOI Security and its various subsidiaries was lauded by even the wife of former President Bush. We were written about in the August 1989 issue of Ebony magazine, and I mean, it was just a powerful, economic venture for the Nation of Islam that was a win-win situation, because men who came into the nation could be employed in jobs whereby they were serving and protecting their community, where they may have been those prior to coming into the nation who were causing all of the problems in their community. So it was a wonderful construct, but as the history will record, the ADL and other Jewish groups applied pressure on the HUD and the Congress to ultimately destroy the NOI security program. You mentioned power when Minister Farrakhan began to produce personal care products. And we were producing our own personal care product line, giving the black community a much needed increase in market share in an area where we are primarily just the consumers and not the manufacturers or distributors or merchandisers of it. Other people have those lucrative positions in that economic food chain. But when the minister got a $5 million loan from our African brother, the great lion of Africa, Muammar Gaddafi, and the minister wanted Mr. George Johnson to be a manufacturer. Mr. Johnson thought it was a wonderful idea. He agreed. The minister deposited the money in a black bank in Chicago, and when the Jewish community came complaining, Mr. Johnson had to renege on his commitment to the minister. The bank had to ask the minister to take the money out.
Because of that Jewish pressure.
Because of the Jewish pressure. And so this conflict between the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and members of the Jewish community has ill-affected the Nation of Islam's ability to serve black America by operationalizing the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, making his word flesh. And so there are critics who say this or that about Minister Farrakhan and the rebuilt Nation of Islam, but I would respectfully submit that your assessment of the minister's moves in economic development is woefully inadequate if you do not consider and factor in the strong and stiff opposition coming from the Jewish community. And in spite the minister's defense of so many prominent persons in our community, it's very sad to see that most will not come to the defense and the aid of Minister Farrakhan. They will not return that blessing.
And that's something that we see in the scriptures with Jesus and is it Nicodemus?
Yes.
Who came in the dark?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The last one, we definitely want to just promote this powerful book, one I have. Who Do They Say I Am? The Vindication of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And tell us a little bit about this book, what's in this book, and why you wrote this book.
Sure. Well, that is a book. If you will remember, if you have a copy of Message to the Black Man, on the back cover of Message to the Black Man, there are essentially testimonials of what highly placed people and organizations outside of the Nation of Islam thought about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that is so key because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, before the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, received a lot of negative criticism coming from media, coming from the Jewish community and other areas that wanted to oppose his beneficial work among black people. And so to be able to organize and collect sayings and quotes and opinions and ideas
from
of Minister Farrakhan, from enemies, from celebrities, from journalists, from academics, from clergy, some black, some white, some Asian, some Jew. I mean, it's a kaleidoscope of humanity that is giving their deepest heartfelt appreciation and respect in laudatory comments about the minister and his work. And so to me, I find great joy in collecting such an abundance of witness bearers. Because again, in the life of Jesus, when Jesus was arrested and his arrest led to his crucifixion, it was on the basis of false witnesses. And so we hope that this book is something of an organization of just some of the witnesses to this man's benefit, how he has impacted America, how he has reformed black men who many deem irredeemable and incorrigible. And my ultimate hope is that it would help to create a new narrative around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That it would replace the old narrative of Farrakhan, the bigot, and the anti-Semite. When people read these statements of how could a man be a bigot and anti-Semite when you have a Jewish mayor of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who asked Minister Farrakhan to come to the city of Philadelphia to quell a pending racial uprising in the aftermath of a black woman and her son being brutalized going through a white neighborhood. The city of Philadelphia was in an uproar, and it was Mayor Edwin Rendell who invited the minister to come and tried to bring about a modicum of peace. Now, what's very intriguing about that is that Mayor Rendell was, I believe, the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton, during the election season, when she was running for president against Barack Obama, she was taking him to task because Minister Farrakhan had said nice things about him. And she said, I want you to repudiate it. And he said, well, you know, I can't stop it if a man wants to say nice things about him. He said, so, well, I'll reject it. She said, that's not strong enough. I want you to repudiate it. He said, well, okay, whatever you want, I'll repudiate it. It's basically, as I paraphrase it.
Right.
And I thought to myself at that time how he could have really taken her to task at that time had his people been armed with the fact that a man in such a high key position in her campaign had not only said nice things about the minister, but asked the minister to come to his city to help him prevent a racial war, if you will, you know. Yeah. And so that's just one aspect of the value of these kinds of testimonies that have been hidden from the public view, that I hope would help all of us, and I hope that it would help those that are situated in key positions within the society who have a personal love and respect for the minister. I would hope that it would help them to come out of the closet.
Yes.
And be open with their love and support for a good man. There's nothing wrong with supporting and showing your love for a good man that have done nothing but good for us.
Absolutely. And you said something so beautiful today and so thought-provoking. And that is how can they say that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, that being extended to him, are the most powerful black men, and yet Black History Month, we don't have any mention of them, any mention of Marcus Garvey, any mention of Paul Robeson, these great men, and Ida B. Wells, great women as well.
Yes, and we have to take control of our history, and I certainly reflect upon the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at this year's Savior's Day, where he coined this phrase, a pantheon of black leadership, and he gave us an example of how to harmonize streams of approach to solving the problems of black people in America. Some took the civil rights approach, some took the nationalist approach, some took the spiritual approach, some took the revolutionary approach. But the common thread that united all of them was their love for their people. They may have in their lifetime argued with one another, and he cited the conflict between Marcus Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois. He cited the conflict between Malcolm and Dr. King and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But he said time has given us the ability to see the value in all who labored for us, and he took our attention to what Allah says in the Quran, when Allah says that know surely that Allah wastes not the work of any worker. So all who did something for us, we've benefited. And it is not for us to condemn them in hindsight, but it's for us in hindsight to settle on the best part of them by identifying and acknowledging the good that they did and finding a way to bring all of the streams together and make a mighty river Jordan for the deliverance of our people.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. Now, is the tour, the whole tour, the Defending Farrakhan is a whole tour titled "Smiting the Shepherd"?
Well, it's the Defending Farrakhan tour.
Okay.
Preparing the earth to swallow the flood. Okay. This weekend in Columbus, we debuted 2 new themes within that overarching subject entitled Smiting the Shepherd to Scatter the Nation, because we wanted to highlight a pernicious strategy of our enemy to assault those who are the champions of our causes, those who are the focal point, the point persons of our movement, so that once they are, their character is assassinated, they can be physically assassinated, and the movement that they lead can be scattered, dispersed, and done away with. And so we will probably take this particular subject to other cities as Allah blesses us to be invited to other cities. We want to go to as many places as possible because we believe that it is necessary for accurate, documentable truth about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan be made available to our people so we can decide.
Yes,
we
sir.
can't decide on the basis of lies and falsehood. We want to decide on the basis of truth.
Yes, sir. And just to end it off, if you could give your contact information
Sure.
so that people can contact you, invite you out. And I'm telling that if you invite my brother out, you will be pleasantly surprised. So please give him your contact information,
Sure.
website, telephone number.
Give it to me, I'm listening.
Sure. You can reach us at our website, which is www.researchminister.com, or you can email us at brotherdemetric@gmail.com. That's brotherdemetric@gmail.com. And if you send us an email, we can dialogue via phone or via email and see about coming and sharing these presentations in your city and locale.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank
I
you,
really
brother.
appreciate your
you.
time.
Thank you so much. May Allah continue to bless you.
You too, my
Yes,
brother.
sir.
We want to thank Brother Demetric for this wonderful weekend. We want to thank Student Minister Darnell here in Columbus and the mighty FOI and MGT and all those visitors from Columbus and around the Dayton area and Ohio area for coming to this powerful conference. We urge everyone to get this powerful book, and we will also be releasing the DVD or the video of the conference, and you definitely need to get it. So may God continue to bless you and your family with the light of truth and understanding as I leave you with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum.